How the implementation of the forward pass in football and the rules that came with it are a turning point in history.
Football was a game that most people would say looked more like rugby than football back then. That is until the forward pass was implemented. The forward pass and the rules that came with it are very influential to the way that the game is played today. This was the first major safety rule change that was added to the game, like the unnecessary roughness call. Imagine this: before these rules were implemented, the game was just a lot of running forward into the opposite team every play. Passing led to a lot less injuries than running back then without helmets. You can imagine a fan base could just get bored watching injury after injury, just running straight forward. The implementation of the forward pass was a turning point in history because of the lives it saved and the skill it brought to the game. It brought lasting changes to the game, improving safety and entertainment quality. It is the year 1906, and previously a massive earthquake has happened in California, killing many, and President Theodore Roosevelt sailed into the Panama Canal Zone, the first time a sitting president has traveled outside of the country. And I say this, don't forget President Roosevelt, because he has a role in the changes that happened. The major factor leading up to the implementation of the forward pass was the death of 18 players in 1905. While not all of the deaths were directly attributable to the injuries suffered on the field, the large number of the deaths caused a strong public response, with many calling for the abolishment of the sport. Teddy Roosevelt, Walter Camp, John Heisman, and Knute Rockne were among the principal figures in the implementation of the forward pass. President Roosevelt, in response to the public outcry over the player deaths, demanded that changes be made to the game to make it less dangerous. Walter Camp, who had proposed many of the key rules of the sport at the 1880 College Football Rules Convention that many consider the birth of the sport, along with the prominent college football coaches John Heisman and Knute Rockne as members of the Rules Committee, realized that the future of their sport was at stake. They revised the rules of the game to make it less gruesome and more skill-based. By allowing the forward pass, the players were spread out over the field. Additional rule changes included new penalties for unnecessary roughness and unsportsmanlike conduct.
The implementation of the forward pass and the rules that came with it are a turning point in history because of the lasting changes that they made to the game. Without these changes, there would be many more deaths to football. I chose this topic because I am a football fan and a football player. To think that pads back then, where leather jackets and helmets were not a thing. Imagine a game of football with almost only one play, and that one play was to run straight forward into the other team. And that was one of the major reasons of death and concussions. The pass was implemented to lower the concussion rate, and it worked significantly. Although that these rule changes did not wipe out all the injuries now are a lot less major than they used to be. The implementation of the forward pass, of course, added the forward pass to the game, but the forward pass back then looked nothing like the forward pass that we know today. The forward pass that we see today has been evolved over time and changed from the way that we saw originally. Although this rule change allowed for passing in the year 1906, most teams wouldn't start passing on a regular basis until 1909, because before, if you threw an incomplete pass, the ball would be turned over, which means it would be given to the other team. In 1909, if you threw an incomplete pass, you were just sent back to the original line of scrimmage. And even then, a big pass was around 5 to 10 yards. Some of the best quarterbacks today, like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, can throw up to 70 yards. That's 210 feet. Rule changes made an impact on not only the players, but the coaches and even the fans. The game made many big changes, changing the strategy for the players and the coaches, and the way to watch and talk about the game with all the new rule changes for the critics and the fans. Three coaches didn't love these rule changes, and they were Bill Reed from Harvard, Foster Rockwell from Yale, and Bill Roper from Princeton. The original game plan for a lot of teams was to eliminate the other team's best player in the beginning and then just run, run, run. No passes. It would just be like running straight forward at the other team in hopes of yardage. And these big teams would stay like this for the next couple of years, because if you passed the ball, you would run the risk of losing it if it was incomplete.